Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Hare Hare,
Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Bolo bolo. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Radhe. Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna,
Hare Hare,
Hare Rama,
Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama,
Radhe. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Rama,
Rama Rama, please, one more time, a little loud.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare
Hare,
Hare Rama,
Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All goes to Srila Prabhupada. Welcome devotees to our morning Bhagavatam class. This morning we will be discussing on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 10, verse 14, and we will start with the opening prayers. And the chapter is entitled The Departure of Lord Krishna to Dwarka. Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Prajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Prajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada Nitai Gaura Haribo 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 Nitai Gaura Haribo Nitai Gaura Haribo 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 Nitai Gaura Haribo Jai Om Vishnupad Paramhamsa Parikvacharya Stotra to Shri Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramhamsa Parikvacharya Stotra to Shri Srimad Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda Ki Jai. ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nama Acharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem se kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Shadi Gaur Bhakta Vrind Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopi Gopinath Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Shri Vrindavan Jam Ki Jai. Shri Mayapur Ki Jai. Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Ganga Mai Ki Jai. Yamuna Mai Ki Jai. Tulsi Devi Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Sri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Samaveta Bhakta Vrind Ki Jai. Nitai Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Bol. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to Sri Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Tirtha Swami Ki Namane. Namaste Krishna Padaya Prabhupada Shitatmane Sri Gaura Karana Shakti Bhakti Tirtha Namane. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Ki Namane. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyatya Desha Tarane. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chevam Narottamam Devam Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet Nashta Prayishta Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Tamashloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki. Hare Krishna. As we mentioned, that we will be discussing from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 10, verse 14. And the chapter is entitled, The Departure of Lord Krishna to Dwarka. I'll chant the verse 3 times, and I request devotees to please chant after me. Nyarundan udgalad bashpam utkantya devaki sute niryatya garanos badram iti syad bandhavastriya Nyarundan udgalad bashpam utkantya devaki sute niryatya garano no badram iti swad bandhavastriya Nyarundan udgalat paspam utkantya devaki sute niryatya garano badram iti syad bandhavastriya.
Yarundam utkarad baspam utkantya devaki sute viratya garano badram itisyad bandhavastriya. Hare Krishna.
Nyarundhamudgaladbashpam outkanthya devaki sute निर्यात्यगारा नो भद्रम इति स्याद्बान्धवस्त्रियः. Krishna.
Very nice, Pranav. Thank you. Anyone else?
Niyarundham udgat bashpam Otkantaya devaki sute Niryati agarano bhadram iti shad bandhava istriya.
Thank you. Anyone else would like to give a try? Okay, we will read the word for word translation. Nyarundan, checking with great difficulty. Udgalat, overflowing. Baspam, tears. Otkantyat, because of great anxiety. Devaki sute, unto the son of Devaki. Niryati, having coming out. Angarat, from the palace. Na, not. Abhadram, inauspiciousness. Iti, thus. Swat, may happen. Bandhava, relative. Striya, ladies. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The female relatives whose eyes were flooded with tears out of anxiety for Krishna came out of the palace. They could not stop their tears, only with great difficulty. They feared their tears would cause misfortune at the time of departure. Purport. There were hundreds of ladies in the palace of Hastinapur. All of them were affectionate to Krishna. All of them were relatives also. When they saw that Krishna was going away from the palace for his native place, they were very anxious for him. And as usual, tears began to roll down their cheeks. They thought, at the same time, that tears at that moment might be a cause of misfortune for Krishna. Therefore, they wanted to check them. This was very difficult for them because the tears could not be checked. Therefore, they smeared their tears in their eyes, and their eyes throbbed. Therefore, ladies who were the wives and daughter-in-laws of those who died on the battlefield never came in direct contact with Krishna. But all of them heard of him and his great activities, and thus they thought of him, talked of him, his name, fame, etc., and became affectionate also, like those who were in direct contact. Therefore, directly or indirectly, anyone who thinks of Krishna, talks of Krishna, or worships Krishna becomes attached to him, because Krishna is absolute. There is no difference between his name, form, quality, etc. Our intimate relation with Krishna can be confidentially revived by our talking of, hearing of, or remembering him. It is so done due to spiritual potency. Om Agyanatimirandhyasya Gyanagana Shalakaya Chakshur Onmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shivachari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So the translation again. The female relatives whose eyes were flooded with tears out of anxiety for Krishna came out of the palace. They could not stop their tears, only with great difficulty. They feared that tears would cause misfortune at the time of departure. So as I was preparing for this class, Krishna's arrangement, I'm able to get a lot of points from Srila Prabhupada by Prabhupada's mercy from his lecture. So majority of this morning's class that I will be sharing with all of you would be from Srila Prabhupada's lecture transcription with a very little bit of my reflection that I would like to share just by reading Srila Prabhupada's lecture transcription. So we know generally women are more emotional beings, as they say, than men are. You know, it's very easy for ladies to cry. And not only do we cry in sad moments, but we also cry in happy moments. And it, you know, somehow, Srila Prabhupada says the tears just sit there, you know, waiting to just, come out. It's very easy. So Srila Prabhupada says that ladies are known to shed tears in sad moments and also in joyful moments. So here we see Krishna is going from Hastinapur to Dwarka, and all the Pandavas, not only the ladies, even the men, as we have read in the previous verses that we have heard from so many devotees in the past few days, were very much affected because Krishna is leaving the physical, association. They're feeling such a separation from Krishna's physical association. They're so affected. And the ladies especially, they could not stop their tears. And their tears were just forcibly coming down. And we've also heard, we were told that sometimes when someone is, I shouldn't say sometimes, generally, when someone is leaving, going somewhere, we should not cry because that is considered to be inauspicious. So the ladies are thinking, my God, Krishna's going, Krishna's leaving. And, how will we live without his association? How will we function without his presence? What will we do without him, right? And they have tears coming down, but at the same time, they're saying, oh, no. If I cry, it's inauspicious because Krishna's leaving. That's going to cause some kind of, bad omen, as they say, inauspiciousness. So Srila Prabhupada is showing us in his purport that these are the symptoms of love for Krishna, which is the highest perfection of love, Atma Nivedana. In the 9 processes of devotional service, the highest is Atma Nivedana, total surrender, where that is the highest perfection of life. And the highest perfection of life is the symptoms of love, where we just shed tears for Krishna. Like yesterday, His Grace Vishnugada Prabhu was mentioning in class, one of Lord Chaitanya's prayers is, when will my face be decorated with tears of love flowing like torrents of rain? These are symptoms of ecstasy, symptoms of love for Krishna. And Srila Prabhupada says that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught us the method of worship and separation. This was a very important point for me as I was preparing the class, really important, that I really felt it's very important that we really hear this and really understand the correct mood of how we should worship the Lord. So Srila Prabhupada says that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught us the method of worship in the mood of separation, Vipralamba Seva. Our method of worshiping the Lord should be in the mood of separation, Vipralamba Seva. Srila Prabhupada goes on to say that it should not be, oh, yesterday I went to the temple, I saw the Lord. Last night I had a dream and I dreamt that Krishna was snatching my clothes. Srila Prabhupada says that is sahajya. That is not the correct mood of worship. He says we are not sahajyas. We are bhakti yoga practitioners. He says our worship should always be in the mood of separation from the Supreme Personality and of Godhead. It should not be, oh, I went to the temple last night, or I went to the devotee's house, or, oh, if we have devotees in our house, oh, I saw Krishna before I went to sleep. I dreamt of him last night. He was pulling my clothes. He was, pulling my hair. He was pulling my, whatever. And that is a Sahaja mentality, Srila Prabhupada says. We should pray and worship in the mood of separation. Srila Prabhupada goes on to say, again, was a very powerful point for me as I was preparing for this class. Powerful point in the sense that powerful reminder that Srila Prabhupada says that even our Goswamis were praying to the Lord in the mood of separation. If we read the bhajans, if we read the prayers of the Goswamis, if we read the prayers of our acharyas, and if we read the prayers of all our parampara system, the great acharyas, all their prayers are in the mood of separation. When will I see you? When will I get your mercy? When will I begin to love you? When will I be able to get the mercy to serve you? What shall I do without you? Where shall I go? So Srila Prabhupada is saying we should not be in the mood of, I have seen God, so I am fine. Because we are not at that level at all to see God, because we are seeing God with our material eyes. We don't have divine vision, divya drishti. We don't have the divine vision because our eyes are so covered up with so much of ignorance and attraction and attachment and all kinds of stuff. Every day we are faced with that. Every day we are faced with that. And so we don't have good vision. We don't have clear vision. Some of us who wear glasses is very obvious, like myself. I don't have a 20/20 vision. And even those with 20/20 vision don't have divine vision. It's a material vision, 20/20, according to the optician, to use these eyes. But we don't have the divine vision to see God. So Srila Prabhupada says our mood should not be, oh, I have seen God. I went to the temple. I saw the Lord, in the temple, altar, at home, wherever. So I'm fine. No. Srila Prabhupada says we should be lamenting in separation because that was the mood and prayers, not just mood, in addition to mood, that were the prayers of our acharyas. If you remember Srila Prabhupada, again, this is my reflection. When Srila Prabhupada was on the Jaladuta coming to America, and he went through 2 heart attacks, never on that boat did he feel, okay, I have seen the Lord. Krishna has given me this because I am very fit for the service, because I'm the chosen ambassador, because I have all the qualities. Prabhupada never thought that way. If anything, Prabhupada is saying, Krishna, why did you send me to this hellish place? This place is full of voidism. How will I do this? How can I do this? How can I, share the mercy to this, to these crazy people in this country who are full of voidism? He was praying to the Lord. I don't know what to do. How can I? What shall I do? Why did you send me? That was Krishna. That was Srila Prabhupada's prayer. So this is the process of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's worship. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself was Krishna, Radha and Krishna himself. So if Lord Chaitanya, because Lord Chaitanya was the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he himself was teaching us how to worship. The Lord was falling on the water, rolling on the grass, crying in this beautiful picture. And I want to get hold of it and hang it somewhere. But this picture that comes to my mind of Lord Chaitanya leaning on a bed of rocks and having tears coming down his eyes, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is lying on the bed of rocks and crying, when will I see you, Krishna? What shall I do until then? I am going crazy. Will I ever get your mercy? Mood of separation. When Lord Chaitanya was a grihastha, he used to, Srila Prabhupada says that when Lord Chaitanya was a grihastha, he would simply ask his mother every now and then, Mother, will I ever realize Krishna? Will I ever see Krishna? Will I ever know who Krishna is? What shall I do? Where shall I go? And Srila Prabhupada says that his mother would tell Lord Chaitanya, my dear son, why are you so impatient? Everything will be all right in due course of time. Srila Prabhupada says that Lord Chaitanya started giving an indication to his mother ahead of time. I want to leave home to go find my Lord because I am being separated from my Lord. And each time he asks his mother, Mother Sachi understood this boy wants to leave home. He is not going to stick around. He wants to leave home. So one of the prayers from the Shishya Shastakam that Lord Chaitanya is teaching us is, Yugayatam nimeshena chakshusha pravishyayatam. Sunyayatam jagat sarvam govinda virahename. So Lord Chaitanya is praying in a mood of separation, Vipralamba Seva, in separation from you, O Lord Govinda. I'm thinking a moment to be like 12 years or more. Some of us have experienced in our childhood. I wouldn't even say childhood, even now probably, because sometimes our desires are don't face discrimination. It's an equal opportunity employer. Some of us, when we want something very eager, we want it now, right? And whenever we say, okay, I'll give it to you, that I'll give it to you it feels like yugas and yugas. When we tell our child, I remember when Vishaka was a little girl, and whenever we used to travel, Vishaka, when she was young, she had no patience. When we used to travel to visit my parents in Maryland, and there was a 3-hour drive at that time when we were living in Gitanagri, or when we used to visit my in-laws in Connecticut, there was about a good 7-8 hour drive. As soon as we get in the car, within half an hour, are we there yet, Daddy? And we have to somehow distract that kid, either for 3 hours or for 7 hours. And finally, she gets so tired, she'll sleep off. She wakes up, are we there yet, Daddy? Because that 7 years, that 7 hours feels like 7 years. Oh my God, this is insane. The eagerness, right? And we as adults also go through that. When we want something, we want it now. The eagerness, it has not come. So do we have that eagerness to cry for the Lord? Do we have that eagerness to want to see the Lord, but not in the mood of, I have seen Krishna, so I'm fine. In the mood of, Krishna, I am being separated from you. And all these attractions and attachments and distractions are making me forget you even more, right? Like the gopis, right? When the gopis were, that there's this nice prayer by the gopis that they were telling their eyelids, don't blink, because when you blink, you're disturbing the vision. I cannot see my Lord, because each time you blink, you're disturbing us from seeing Krishna. Don't blink. Even the blinking and the twinkling of the eyes, the gopis were saying, this eye is such a problem. It's such a disturbance because it's blinking, and each blink is distracting us from not seeing our Lord. So Srila Prabhupada is teaching us, how much are we eager to be in the mood of separation, right? And he goes on to say, spiritual enjoyment in this material world, great saintly persons and sages, when they want to enjoy spiritual enjoyment in the material world, they give up material enjoyment. And why is that so? We ask ourselves, why is it that great acharyas and great saintly persons and rishis, when they want to experience spiritual enjoyment in this crazy material world, they have to give up material enjoyment? And why is that so? Because the material enjoyment are the material attachments that's blocking the progress of spiritual life. It's these material attachments, these material enjoyments, these material distractions that is not allowing us to get into the mood of worship of separation from our Supreme Lord. We are being distracted so much. So the more distraction we have in our material life, the more distraction we have in our spiritual life, the more it's going to block us from really getting into the mood of worship of separation from the Supreme Lord. So Srila Prabhupada says that this Krishna conscious movement is very serious, very important, because it's this Krishna conscious movement that is going to help us to learn to develop the understanding to identify the obstacles that is blocking us on our path of detachment, because that, so that, we can learn to identify them and remove those obstacles, because those obstacles are what's blocking the progress of our spiritual life. And those blocks will not help us to get into the mood of Vipralamba Seva, which is what Lord Chaitanya came to teach us. Lord Srila Prabhupada says, Lord Chaitanya came to teach us worship in separation, not worship in direct contact. Srila Prabhupada goes on to say, direct contact is not possible. Sometimes we go to the temple and we see, okay, Krishna is there. Okay, Gonata is there. Okay, Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra is there. I've seen the Lord. I'm done. I'm fine now. And we take the direct contact for granted. It is like Band-Aid, I've seen the Lord. One time, my father gave a sermon in church many, many, many years ago, where some people think, I've done so many sins this whole week. I'm going to go to church for church service, sit in the pew, meaning the benches, and hear the sermon, and I become purified. Then I'm cleansed by my sins, and then they go out and do the same thing again. Because they think, the direct contact will save me. No. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught us the worship of Vipralamba Seva. the worship of separation, not worship of direct contact, because direct contact is not possible because we are fallen conditioned souls. And the direct contact is sahaja mentality. And that is, I've seen the Lord, I'm fine. No, because that is not what Srila Prabhupada taught us. Srila Prabhupada goes on to say that the real Chaitanya Sampradaya, Srila Prabhupada uses this word, real Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Sampradaya, he said, is that we should be feeling like Lord Chaitanya, separation, vipralamba. I am so wretched. I cannot serve the Lord. How can I serve Krishna? It is not possible. This is the teaching of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Lord Srila Prabhupada says. But even though I do not see him, it is not even possible for me to see him because I'm so insignificant. And because I'm so insignificant, why must Krishna come and see me? If we think about the pastime of Sudama and Krishna, right? Sudama did not share the chip rice with Krishna, and he had to pay for that. And he lived a life of poverty. Imagine that pastime. And that pastime is not a fairy tale like Cinderella, Beauty and the Beast, and Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. No, it's not. It's real. It actually happened. Sudama led a life of poverty, and he never once complained. If anything, he says when he gets something by begging food an ounce, he will always make sure he gives it back to the Lord. And when he gets more, he says, Krishna, why are you so merciful? My God, you're being that kind to this wretched soul? That's the mood of Sudama. Until his wife told him to go see Krishna. Even that too, he didn't want to go. He says, I'm not going to bother the Lord. After all, who am I? I'm so insignificant. How many times do we think of ourselves that way? If we don't get a service, we start blaming the superiors. Oh, you didn't give me service. What did I do? Am I not qualified? We get, we go blame and fault find, right? Am I qualified? Why am I not qualified? I got all this training. I've been in ISKCON for 20 years, 10 years, whatever, 30 years, whatever. I'm not qualified. You should give me some service. I know this more than you. We go start blaming. Where Sudama is saying, I'm so insignificant, right? And so rather than coming in that mood of, you don't give me service, Srila Prabhupada says we should always say, how can I serve you? How can I be of service to you? Please give me some service. Because I'm very insignificant. I need service to be purified. And Srila Prabhupada goes on to say, one of the powerful prayers of Lord Chaitanya is, in any condition, whether you beat me or you handle me roughly by your embrace, I will not give up on you. Right? Repeated birth and death, broken-hearted. Even if you handle me roughly by your embrace, I will not give up Krishna consciousness. Srila Prabhupada says that should be our mentality. Whether we get repeated birth and death, whether we are brokenhearted, whether we have been dealt roughly, whether we have been hurt, whether we haven't gotten service, whatever it is, we should not give up Krishna consciousness. Because that was the mood of Lord Chaitanya. Even if he handles me roughly by his embrace or makes me brokenhearted before me. That was Lord Chaitanya's prayer. He never gave up on the Lord. So in this purport, Srila Prabhupada is teaching us that the ladies, if we read the purport, Srila Prabhupada says that there were ladies who did not see Krishna directly, yet they were so attracted to the Lord. How were they attracted to the Lord? By hearing the glories of the Lord, his great activities. They talked about the Lord in his name and his fame, and he did this and he did this. Just by hearing the glories of the Lord without seeing and meeting the Lord, they became very attracted to the Lord and very affectionate towards the Lord. So much so that it was as if they had direct contact with the Lord. Srila Prabhupada said. So those women that did not have direct contact with the Lord were so attracted to the Lord, loved the Lord with so much affection, just by hearing the glories of the Lord, talking about the Lord, discussing about the Lord, learning about the Lord. And when they do that, others are saying, did you meet the Lord? They're like, no, but that's how they were behaving. When I read that verse, this was my reflection. It reminded me of so many prophet disciples in ISKCON who have personally never met Srila Prabhupada. Maybe just one time. But just by hearing the glories of Srila Prabhupada, just by hearing the glories of the Lord in Sadhu Sangha, they became so attached to Srila Prabhupada that they completely gave up their material lives for Srila Prabhupada and surrendered at Srila Prabhupada's feet, became his disciple, and we will be amazed. There were so many disciples of Srila Prabhupada where Srila Prabhupada gave initiation by writing a letter and sending the beads. Never met them personally. And these are the disciples that we see today. They are all over ISKCON. And they have not given up on Krishna. Many Prabhupada disciples have only met Prabhupada probably one time, probably two times. And they got the initiation. Some of them were fortunate to get it, extra fortunate to have it before Prabhupada. And some of them were fortunate to have Srila Prabhupada give them their new name and initiation by writing a letter with his handwriting on it. And those disciples have those letters till this very day. Till this very day. So it's so clear how the Prabhupada disciples got so attracted to Krishna consciousness just by hearing the glories of Srila Prabhupada, hearing the glories of the Lord in association with devotees. They became so attracted to Srila Prabhupada, so affectionate to Krishna, that they gave up their lives and as if that they actually were with Srila Prabhupada 24/7 for those 14 years. And that was not the case. So this shows the power of Vani against Vapu, the power of Vani. And Srila Prabhupada says, when we learn and study Bhagavatam in association with devotees, like what exactly we're doing right now, we are associating with the Lord because he is present in the Bhagavatam. We are associating with the Lord. So Srila Prabhupada says that our mood of worship should be in the mood of worshiping the Lord in the mood of separation, vipralamba seva. We should not worship the Lord in the mood of direct contact, because that direct contact is for sahajiyas who think Krishna pulled my skirt, Krishna pulled my cloth, Krishna pulled my hair, Krishna came, sang to me. That is not mood of separation, because that is not what Lord Chaitanya taught us. We always, as Bhakti Yoga practitioners, following Srila Prabhupada's teachings and missions, we should always learn what Lord Chaitanya taught us, because Lord Chaitanya was none other than Radha Krishna themselves. And he taught us the method of worship in separation. He did not teach us the method of direct contact. And we should always pray, Krishna, when will I get over these hurdles of attraction so I can come closer to you? When will this mind stop become crazy? When will it trip? When will it stop tripping? When will I clean my heart from desires so that I can become more eager to want to serve your devotees? So this was what I got from Srila Prabhupada's lecture. Like I said, 90% of what I shared was from Srila Prabhupada's transcription, with a short reflection of, from my reflection of how Srila Prabhupada disciples took shelter of Srila Prabhupada just by hearing his glories. Many of them did not have direct contact. And even those who have seen Srila Prabhupada, like Balabhadra Prabhu has said, he has seen Srila Prabhupada and he was in Prabhupada's presence twice. But he never had direct contact with Srila Prabhupada, and Srila Prabhupada never gave him any direct instruction. But look at Balabhadra Prabhu, steadfast follower of Srila Prabhupada, never gave up on Krishna consciousness. And these are the devotees that we should serve and learn from and follow in their footsteps, to learn to be servant of the servant in the mood of separation. That should be our worship. Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Would like to know if there are any questions, any comments, any takeaways from this class. Please do unmute yourself and share your thoughts. I would love to hear your takeaways. I would love to hear discussion, on this amazing class from Srila Prabhupada. Really amazing purpose, very powerful.
Hare Krishna. Peace of separate hold obeisances. All glories to the Prabhupada. So today's lecture, thank you very much for it. The worship in separation. It's important for us, as you stressed so many times, the Prabhupada that made us understand. And I remember one lecture that Srila Prabhupada said that it's kind of hard for us in the material world to understand when you talk about worship or relating in separation, when the person, the object of the beloved, is not there. But we know, as it says, absence makes the heart grow fonder. Still, he said that the gopis miss Krishna even more when Krishna is not around. When he's not around, the love for him is even greater. And he said it's very difficult for us to, in this material world, to understand that. But for us, we follow the footsteps of Guru, and what he says, we take it to heart, and then we try to live that way. And hopefully, we will grow in Krishna consciousness by the spiritual master. That was just the comment I wanted to make. But in this purport, Srila Prabhupada is talking about two things that the ladies in the palace were crying because Krishna was getting ready to leave. Boy, that's a very, very powerful indication of their love for him. And then those who did not even ever see him, the wives of the soldiers, the daughters-in-law of the soldiers, they just heard about him. Those who were in Kurukshetra war, just heard about him, thought of him, his good activities, and they also fell very much in love with him. So that's where we learn, the more we connect with Shastra about Krishna, the more we hear Krishna's pastimes, then our love also, by the mercy of Guru, will be kindled, it will be awakened. It's dormant, it will be awakened. And then the spiritual potency will be there from the Lord's mercy. Hare Krishna. I just wanted to comment about that.
Thank you so much. That was a nice sharing. Yeah, and especially when Sri Prabhupada said the wives and daughters of those who died, the wives and daughter-in-laws of those who died in the battlefield, the soldiers heard Krishna and they got so attracted to the Lord that they were crying. That's just that shows how powerful it is to talk about the glories of the Supreme Lord and get so attracted to him without direct contact, and that, yeah, that's the power of sadhu sangha, because they were all coming together and talking and discussing and sharing about Lord Krishna and his activities and his name and fame, and without any direct contact, sadhu sangha, and they got attracted to the Lord. That's the power of association. Yep. Any other takeaways, devotees? Would like to hear any takeaways from devotees. You can even put in the chat if you want. Any thoughts, any reflections, any realizations?
I have one.
Yes.
So towards the end of the purpose, Sri Prabhupada comes right out and says, directly or indirectly, anyone who thinks of Krishna, talks of Krishna, or worship Krishna becomes attached to him. So this is an instruction for him. So whenever we meet devotees, we should talk about Krishna, not more so our material situations, but talk of Krishna. Even when we talk about material situations, still we should bring Krishna into the conversation, because this is how we're going to become attached to him. And if we're attached to him, we'll think about him at the time when we're leaving our body, and that's how we go back to Godhead. When we think of him, we'll be chanting some more, because chanting mentions Krishna's name directly. And then Krishna's absolute, then we have Krishna also. So what we're really saying is that the devotees, when we get in touch with each other, when we are in contact with each other, associate with each other, yes, we will sing kirtan, so that's all about Krishna, and we'll dance and be happy, not the bliss is there. But in our regular conversations also, we should really bring Krishna into the picture. That way that we think of Krishna the whole time. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Any thoughts from devotees? Any comments? I see one from Mamina. Hare Krishna. Okay, let me go up a little bit. Because I'm humble obeisances of Krishna Prabhupada. I've always been and wanted now. I would work towards making it happen. But now I'm helplessly and hopefully learning and dwelling on separation. I love this class. Thank you, Mamina. Yeah, sometimes we get a very different understanding. Sometimes we think that this is the kind of worship, and it's so nice to be told and remembered, reminded and instructed by Lord Chaitanya and Sri Prabhupada that no, this should be our worship mode of separation. And that's why it's so important that we hear together and read and study Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita with devotees, so we can share our thoughts and learn the right way of worship, which is so important, the mode of separation. Thank you, Mamina. Very, very nice sharing. Anyone else with any other thoughts, takeaways, reflection, anything? And if there isn't, a quick couple of announcements. Tonight we have our Bhagavad Gita reading circle at 6 o'clock. So please do join us. We just ended chapter 4 and we're going into chapter 5. So we're starting chapter 5 today at 6 o'clock. So please do join us. And tomorrow we will be having devotees will be out supporting our temple in our book distribution and Harinam from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. downtown Mechanicsburg. So we request devotees, if you're available, please do come out and support us in our book distribution and Harinam. And Sunday we have a guest speaker who is a senior disciple of Srila Prabhupada, His Grace Bushara Prabhu, and he'll be giving the Sunday lecture this Sunday. So we request devotees, please do chalk out your time and do come. This is I do know that some kids might be on spring break, so this is a wonderful time to actually use the opportunity to engage in more service and to come to the temple and hear class and associate without any stress from school while they're on spring break. So until then, have a wonderful, wonderful day. Vancha kapribhyascha kripasindabevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare